Your kid stopped asking for help. Not gradually, just one day they stopped. No more monsters under the bed. No more running to you when they fall. And everyone said, they're finally growing up. You felt proud. Meanwhile, something in them was quietly closing. Because kids only become independent in two ways. One is healthy. The other starts when a child learns something dangerous. Needing you isn't safe. So they start budgeting their feelings. Sorry, we can't afford that right now. 6 things happen when needing you feels unsafe, including one that looks exactly like the child every parent hopes for, that decide whether they grow up able to be loved or only useful. The moment everyone misreads. Your kid is 7, and something shifts. Not dramatically, not in one conversation, just a quiet, gradual withdrawal from needing you. Most parents see independence. A psychologist would see something very different. The one teachers describe as a dream, which is code for low maintenance and slightly internalized. Teachers love that kid. Therapists meet them later, usually with a notebook and a very long sigh. From your side, progress. From their side, asking doesn't work. Crying makes things worse. I'll just handle it. Their brain didn't mature. It adapted to scarcity. And once that adaptation starts, it rewires everything. The first time they scraped their knee and didn't cry, you felt proud. They noticed. When they stopped calling for you at bedtime and you finally got your evenings back, you felt relief so loud it practically clapped. They learned that silence gets rewarded. They learned, my feelings cost people energy, so I'll just become cheap to love. Clearance rack emotions. Everything must go. Watch your kid at their next birthday party. Are they asking for more cake, or have they already decided not to bother? They become the easy child, the one who doesn't need attention, the one you forget to check on because they seem fine. And here's the part nobody says out loud. The easy child is a relief, which is exactly why nobody notices until it's too late. That's where most parents miss it. They didn't grow up. They compress themselves, like zipping a suitcase until the zipper screams. But this isn't just a kid growing up. It's a kid learning that having needs is a liability. When responsibility becomes identity. Here's where it gets harder to watch. Some kids don't just stop asking for help, they start giving it. Congratulations, your child has been promoted to assistant parent. Salary, 0. Stress level, executive. Your 10-year-old is managing their younger siblings' meltdowns, diffusing tension before dinner, checking on you when you seem stressed. People call them an old soul, which sounds lovely until you realize it usually means this child has seen way too much. That's not wisdom. That's a childhood ending in real time. And here's the part most people miss. Wisdom is knowing not to touch a hot stove. This is knowing how to mediate your parents' divorce. And that wiring doesn't disappear at 30. It just puts on a blazer and calls itself responsibility. They don't just become responsible. They become necessary. And when your value is necessary, you don't learn how to just be loved. What you see is a mature, helpful, emotionally intelligent child. What they feel is, if I stop holding everything together, it all falls apart, and that'll be my fault. Fast forward 20 years, they can't stop over-functioning in every relationship. They resent people for needing them, while only feeling valuable when people need them. They pick partners who take, because that's the only dynamic that feels like love. Therapist, when did you learn to put everyone else first? Them. I don't know, 2nd grade, maybe recess. So, how do you know if your kid is already there? How to tell if this is happening right now? Here's what it looks like from the outside. They apologize constantly, sometimes for things like gravity. They mediate adult conflict. If they're the one calming things down when you and your partner argue, that's not maturity. That's a child doing a job they were never meant to have. They get stress headaches. They act mature, which is adult code for, this kid never complains. They rarely ask for help, and when they do, they apologize for asking. They were easier to raise than you expected, and you never questioned why. If your child's doing these things, their nervous system is carrying weight it was never meant to carry. That's not maturity. That's load-bearing childhood. And here's where it gets dangerous, because buried needs don't disappear. The needs that went underground. Here's what happens to those needs. They don't disappear. They go underground. And they sound like this. Age 8, I'm okay. Age 14, don't come. Age 22, I don't want to bother you. Age 30, can't ask for comfort without an apology and a business case. Hi, I'd like emotional support. I've prepared a PowerPoint and 3 supporting documents. They don't ask for help. They submit a request form internally, deny it, and then thank you for your time. When needs go consistently unmet, their brain starts treating the act of needing itself as dangerous. They work through fevers because calling in sick feels like failure. They apologize for crying because emotions feel inconvenient. They say, it's not a big deal, when it very much is. They give endlessly, but can't receive without guilt. And the cruelest part, they think this is strength. And by the time it stops looking like strength, it's already rewired everything else. The hypervigilance they mistake for anxiety. That mature child, by 16, they're exhausted. By 25, they're burned out. By 35, they're in therapy trying to figure out why rest feels like death. Imagine walking into a room and instantly knowing who's upset, who's pretending not to be, and whether you're about to be blamed. They scan their surroundings like emotional airport security. Sir, I'm detecting unresolved tension in row 3. Picture your kid at the dinner table tonight, not eating, just watching, reading the room before a single word is said. They can't turn it off. Kids who had to monitor their environment for safety develop a nervous system that never learned to stop. It just kept scanning even after the danger was gone, which sounds like anxiety, but it isn't. It's training. They didn't overreact. They over-adapted. This is why they can't relax, even in a good relationship, even on vacation, even when nothing is actually wrong, because their nervous system never learned what safe feels like. It only learned vigilant. Think of it like a smoke alarm that won't stop going off even after you've burnt toast 3 years ago. The danger is gone. The alarm didn't get the memo. This is survival wiring, running 24/7 even when there's nothing left to survive. Hypervigilance is the radar. Achievement is the camouflage. Why they can't stop achieving. These kids become the highest achievers, which sounds like a success story until you see what's underneath it. Straight A's, every extracurricular, scholarships, promotions, always on to the next thing. Everyone thinks, look how successful they are. But they're not achieving because they love work. They're achieving because rest feels like erasure. They don't rest. They rest by opening a new tab called productivity. They stare at it aggressively, which somehow counts as self-care. Their worth was always tied to their usefulness. Stop producing, stop mattering. If I stop achieving, do I still exist? And if you've ever wondered why compliments feel weird to them, this is it. Then one day, burnout, breakdown, or both. And everyone's confused. But you were doing so well. No, they were performing survival. And when someone loves them without needing anything in return, when praise comes just for being, not for doing, it feels fake, suspicious, riddled with danger. They wait for the other shoe to drop. They look for what they owe. They can't take a compliment without deflecting. Thanks, but honestly it was nothing. And also I'm secretly a fraud. Because if they can't produce, what are they? Not a person, a function. A resource that only has value when it's being used. And the place it shows up most clearly isn't work. It's who they choose to love and how. the relationships they sabotage. And here's what this does to every relationship they'll ever have. They date people who need saving, or people who don't need them at all. Either way, they can't do equal. They either overfunction, fixing everything, anticipating every need, never asking for help, and then quietly resenting their partner for not doing enough, while refusing to stop doing it all themselves. Or they underfunction. I don't need anything. Walls up. Lone wolf. Terrified of depending on anyone, because depending means risking disappointment. Their partner says, "You don't have to fix everything," which their brain translates as, "Fix everything faster." They smile. They stay up until 2 a.m. fixing everything anyway. Whether you give too much or pull away entirely, both paths lead to the same place. A relationship where one person carries everything and nobody feels truly seen. Both are just different ways of avoiding the same thing: needing someone and risking them not showing up. Some will pick a fight when things get too good, create distance, find a flaw, anything to restore the familiar imbalance. Stability feels suspicious. Peace feels like a trap. Happiness feels like something they forgot to pay for. Because healthy love, where two people just exist together without constant proof of worth, doesn't compute. And when love feels unfamiliar, the brain calls it unsafe. It feels like waiting for abandonment, which is exhausting, even for the people who love them, especially for the people who love them. And the wild part, they'll call it independence, but it's fear with a very impressive resume. And eventually, that fear comes home. What they actually needed. So, what do you do with this? First, look at your kid differently. The one who never complains, the one who manages everyone else's mood, the one you've been quietly relieved about. That's not low maintenance. That's a child who learned that needing was expensive. And there's one sentence that starts changing that. Not a speech, not a sit down, just this: "I've noticed you carry a lot. You don't have to do that here." That's it. That's the sentence. They might shrug. They might not look up. That's fine. Teenagers communicate primarily through shoulder movements anyway. But something shifts, because for the first time, someone named the weight instead of praising them for carrying it. The permission is planted, and planted things grow. The child who grew up too fast didn't need to be mature. They needed someone to notice before it became permanent. That someone can still be you. If that landed, the next video is the other side of this exact pattern. It's called The 7 Sentences That Rewire Your Kid's Brain. And it picks up exactly where this ends. That video is next.